Hi, everybody. It is April 2nd. We got through April 1st without too many people messing with us. Hopefully, it's someday I'll tell the story about being in Europe with Toto, and April 1st came along, not thinking about April 1st, and Steve Lukather, ended up pulling a prank that I rarely get caught in a prank, and this one totally nailed me. It was unbelievable. It's a long story, so I'll tell that another time. Though it was a pretty funny moment. It was almost some people strangled over it. It got pretty out. So let's see. I'm going to do some music now and tell some stories, and then what time is it now? 9:05. In 55 minutes, I'm going to be on a Zoom with the Berkeley Bass Department, and they're honoring the great bassist Paul Jackson, who just passed away recently. And he was the first time I heard "Thrust" by Herbie Hancock, I went berserk. I went crazy. I went, "This is unbelievable!" And it was Paul, and just his bass playing was unreal. And I was fortunate enough to meet him at a NAMM show a few years back. And I guess it's been a lot of years. Time just takes on a different dimension at this age. It was probably a number of years ago, but I was so thrilled to meet him because he was just one of those guys that just changed the way I thought about what I was doing. He really was amazing. And he had moved to Japan, so I never really got a chance to see him again, but I'm really thrilled that they're putting together this webinar today to pay honor to him. And it was great yesterday doing the Zoom about Jeff Porcaro that Neil Wilkinson put together from over in London. And there was a ton of drummers on that, just everybody just talking about Jeff and how much he meant to them and everything. So I was really glad to join that because so many people talked about Jeff going, I wish I would have met him. And it was really fun to be able to tell stories because I had done probably a couple of hundred albums with Jeff, and loved playing with him so much. He was such a great musician, great human being. It was one righteous hang to be with him. I actually had a 62 Thunderbird at one point, and I sold it to Jeff. And so we got in deeper than most. So that was great. So I was just thinking about, yesterday was great. I mean, I love revisiting Jackson. And I also like correcting things because I went back and I've double checked, and Bob Glaub did play bass on the Pretender track. And I love Bob. Bob's like one of my favorite bass players in town. And we've shared Jackson duties, so I want to be very clear that it was Bob on that track. As soon as I started listening, because I hadn't heard it in a long time, because I looked up I don't know, it was All Music or Discog or one of those, and it listed the album credits, and it listed me on that track. And as I was listening to it, I go, it really sounds like Bob. I mean, Bob and I can kind of cross-collateralize a little bit, but I thought, no, that's got to be. And then I dug much deeper and found I'm sure it was him. So, yo, Bob, you kicked ass. You were great. So today I'm heading in another place because I just saw a posting. I put it up on my Facebook page. It was a really wonderful review of Kate Taylor's new album that we did. And it got me thinking. I thought, I'm going to go back and visit our first Kate Taylor album. Because there's so much, I have such a deep relationship with the Taylor family. Having started my entire career basically was with James. But then getting to know the family, getting to know, Alex and Livingston and Hugh and Kate and Ike and Trudy, the parents, and just this whole Taylor clan was interesting. They were definitely a fascinating family for sure. We ended up losing Alex, some time ago, but he was like the raunchy blues singer. He was the oldest brother, and then you had James, who just was James. And then Livingston comes along, and Livingston's like unbelievably talented too. And Huey, I don't think ever had aspirations for this. I think he's been a fisherman, and that was really his calling, and that's what he's done. But in private, people, the other members would say, Hugh's really got the best voice. But I never really heard him sing. Sorry, I got a little itch going here. And then and Kate, and when James hit, there was an opportunity for things to happen. And Peter Asher, who was managing and producing James, got a record deal for Kate. And we went in the studio in 1971 and recorded her first album, Sister Kate. And it was met with critical success, and she was hitting the road and doing all kinds of things. But I think she pretty quickly got burned out with that life of touring, and eventually just pulled back. She had a few albums out there, but she focused on being a parent and having a life doing other things. But the thing that was fascinating was last year, there was a decision made to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Sister Kate, the first album. And so Peter Asher got hold of all the guys from the original album and the rhythm section guys, and we went in the studio and cut her new album. And it's really, really good. And she got back into, she would come out to Pasadena when she'd be on the road. There was a coffee house here, and she would play it, and I always would go see her, and she's so much fun on stage. She's a great storyteller and has just this infectious energy on stage where, like James is cool and all that, and Liv is somewhere, a little bit more manic James, but Kate's like, she's just a rock and roll kick-ass girl at heart. And so it was great. So I thought I'd play a few things from her first album. I'll be, and don't worry, I'll be playing again. There's so much stuff going on. And tomorrow I've got the one-on-one Skype and FaceTimes, and that takes me from 8 in the morning till about 5:30 or 6 at night with no breaks. It's just like sitting here, one call after another, and I love it. I'm not complaining, but if I find a little break anywhere in there, I'll put something up tomorrow. And then Sunday we load in and start playing with the immediate family. So that I'm really excited about. So let me see, what have I got? Copious notes. What have I got here? Okay, so we've... Okay, Sister Kate Taylor, Sister Kate, 1971. So we recorded that at Crystal Recording Studios and Sunset Sound. Now, I mean, this is how all this stuff works. So Crystal Recording Studios, one of the owners there was John Fishbeck. And that's where they did Stevie Wonder songs in the Key of Life, because John engineered and did all of Stevie's early stuff. But once again, John is the guy who introduced me to James, that got me, completely changed my life. So much of my whole career, I really owe to John Fishbeck. And John's down, right, and John's down now. He lives in New Orleans, and he's in the studio with Judith Owen right now. They've worked together over the years, and they're working on her new album, and they've been sending me files here because she's kind of hunkered down there through the pandemic, and so they've just been sending me off files to do. But so with John, so it was Crystal Recording Studios and Sunset Sound, and there's a real cast of wonderful musicians on this album, though. Peter organized a really amazing thing. So we've got Kate singing on it, John Bolano on guitar, John Hartford, the great John Hartford, on banjo, Carole King on piano, Danny Korchmar on guitar, Bernie Ledden on guitar from the original Eagles lineup, Russ and myself, and there's a couple of tracks with Charlie Larkey on it, who did Tapestry, who was married to Carole King and was the bass player in Joe Mama. And also Joel O'Brien played drums on some of the stuff, and he was the drummer in Joe Mama. And Ralph Schuckett was the keyboard player in Joe Mama. So when we did James's very first tour, like when we went to Europe, Joe Mama opened the show, and that was Cooch and Joel and Ralph Schuckett and Charlie Larkey and Abigail Hannes, who was married to Cooch at the time, was the singer in it. And she was one seriously badass singer, I mean, kind of really in the Joplin-esque school, really amazing. J.D. Souther on guitar and James Taylor on guitar and Sandra Crouch on percussion. And the other day when I did Andre Crouch, Sandra is his sister, and she was on that, also playing, doing background vocals and playing tambourine. She's really one of those gospel tambourine players. So you get her to come in, and it's not like somebody like this. I mean, she's the whole deal. She makes a lot of music. And then the background vocalists on this, not a bad, let me see. Sometimes I think I should have been a doctor. I looked down at my quick notes here, and one of the names I can't quite read that I just wrote. But we have Peter Asher on background vocals, the great Mary Clayton. God, you'd think of all the stuff she did, like with the Stones and stuff. Abigail, Donna Prater, J.D. Souther, and Linda Ronstadt. Not a bad background vocal section. There's another one here. Something Drake. I scribbled down the first name, starts with an O, and I can't read what the hell I wrote. And then we have the unbelievable Memphis Horns, Wayne Jackson and Andrew Love. And I've done a number of albums over the years, and they would bring in the Memphis Horns. And a lot of times, boy, you get these, big horn sections on dates. These guys come in, sax and trumpet, and kill it. And they sound like a full-blown, huge horn section. They're really were amazing guys. And the album was produced by Peter Asher. So I'm going to play a few tracks off of this and just give you this a flavor. So this is Kate Taylor in 1971. And then I saw her. She performed at the Troubadour, but she's fun. But the new album's really, really good. And we went in with Peter producing, and it was Cooch and myself and Russ and Waddy on guitar, Albert Lee on guitar, and Jeff Allen Ross on keyboards on it. And when I would see Kate performing, like in these past couple of years, Jeff was almost always with her because he's one of the best utility guys. He plays guitar, keyboards, sings great. He does all of Peter Asher's projects with him. And he was at one point a member of Badfinger. So Jeff's great too. So the new album's really good, and I'm sure it's about. I don't know if it's been released yet or if it's about to be released, but I think it was. I'm not sure if it was Rolling Stone did this review, but I read the review yesterday and put it up on my Facebook page, and it's a really not only a review, but it really talks about Kate's life. It's more of an article than a review. So check that out too if you can. It's pretty great. So this song is called Handbags and Glad Rags. She did a lot of things on this album. There's like Elton John, Bernie Taupin songs, stuff by James, all kinds of different artists on this. So here we go.
Ever seen a young girl growing old, trying to make a
Sandra. Okay, so on that one, we have Cooch on guitar, myself on bass, Russ Kunkel on drums, Ralph Shuckett playing piano, and the background vocalists on this one are Mary Clayton, it's Oma Drake, O-M-A, Carol King, Donna Prater, Linda Ronstadt, and Abigail Hannes. It's not a bad lineup. On this one too, on all of this period of stuff, I used my old 62 Fender jazz bass that I carved all up. That's the Peace Love bass, which is over at Michael DeTemple's shop right now, having the pots in it replaced because they just finally went. There was no salvaging them, so he's resetting it up with those. And as soon as I get that back, I'll be playing that on some tracks because I love playing that bass. It's really a fabulous instrument. And that was what I used all the way up to when we built Frankenstein. Then I kind of moved on to Frankenstein, but I still used that bass. So it's on all of these early recordings. It's on Billy Cobham's Spectrum. It's on, all of James's stuff, Jackets of Doctor My Eyes and all that. So I'm excited to get it back and start playing because it was just making a lot of noise, and it wasn't noise from electronic schmutz. It was just dying. So that is that song. Let's see what else we got here. What kind of other little... I think I'll do that one a little bit later. What do we have here? Look at Granny Run Run. Let's check this rascal out here and see what we got here, if there's any more information on this one. Now, it's the same bunch of cast of characters, but the other track also had some listings on the video on this. So look at Granny Run Run. And the last time I saw Kate playing in town, she played this. A couple of years ago, so it was great. It's still part of the repertoire. Cooch is just so unique. Memphis Horns. Cooch, cooch. Whole Other World from James Taylor. Kate just, man, has her own journey on this. She's the feisty one out of the family. She's definitely got her own spirit. And it's just amazing to me. I mean, I listen to this, and it's like, you know, you think half a century ago we cut these things. Amazing. This next one is, I think this is Bernie Taupin and Elton John composition, Country Comfort. Pretty sure, let me see if there's any credit on this. Yep, this one was Elton and Bernie. Not a bad songwriting team. John Hartford there on banjo. Great John Hartford.
Soon the pines will be falling everywhere. Village children fight each other for a share. And the 609 goes roaring past the creek. Deacon Lee prepares a sermon for next week. I saw Grandma yesterday down at the store, but she's really going fine for 84. And she asked me if sometime we'd fix her barn. The poor old girl, she needs a hand to run the farm. And that's good old country comfort in my bones. Just the sweet sound my ears have ever known. Just an old-fashioned feeling fully grown. Country comforts and a truck that's going home. Down at the mill, they got a new machine. The foreman says it cuts manpower by 15. Everybody natural, or so Clay would say. This seems a horse-drawn man until his dying day. And that's good old country comfort in my bones. It's just the sweetest sound my ears have ever known. Just an old-fashioned feeling fully grown. Country comforts and a truck that's going
At this time, back in '71, this is when Elton played the Troubadour and changed the music scene completely. We had just done it with James before that, and all of a sudden, this new wave of stuff happened. And then Elton shows up with something that just was like so mind-boggling, with Dee Murray and Nigel Olsson doing it as a trio. And Kate was at their show, and with Peter. And after the show, they went, I think, back to Peter's house, and Elton and the guys came over there, and they were all sitting around playing, talking, and she told him how much she loved that song and asked if it would be cool to record it, and he gave his blessings on it. So that was really very cool. A whole bunch of things like this going. Yesterday was really great. Apparently Jackson, I was did Jackson Brown yesterday, but apparently he put up my video of Dr. My Eyes on his Facebook page. So I wrote him last night, thanking him for that and just thanking him for a lifetime together. And he wrote a great note back. I mean, it's great after this many years, just that these friendships maintain. That was one of the unique things about the players I worked with. Is we developed close relationships with the artists we worked with. When you look back to the Wrecking Crew, I've talked to Denny Tedesco about this, and it was real business with the Wrecking Crew. They would come in, they'd do the records and stuff, and then that was it. They were done with them. But our relationships with the artists went so much deeper, where we were touring with the people. We spent a lot more time together. We spent time socially together. And after 50 years, we're all still friends and still, value each other's friendships and admire each other's talents and things. So it's a pretty amazing situation here with all of this stuff. Oh, well, and I went into the computer shop yesterday, and we managed to change some things out in my laptop, and I think I'm going to be able to let this thing limp along again for a few more months, until apparently I forget what the M series is. It's a new one that Apple apparently has done all by itself. There's no Intel stuff. There's no aftermarket. And they said it is unbelievable. It's going to be the most amazing thing you've ever had. And they're not hustling me. They're friends over there. They know what they're talking about. So I'm going to keep putting Band-Aids on this guy until that time comes. Because when I got this one, it was in, I think, 2008, and it was a rebuild. At that point, it's a MacBook Pro, but I'm gonna wait for this new one to come along and then just bite the bullet and go with it, because if I amortize this over all the years I've had it, it's been a good investment, and to have something that is far more efficient and quick, and apparently the new one also has like a 20-hour battery life. It's like this one. If I unplug it, I'm dead in about 20 minutes. It starts to go. So we'll see all that stuff. But I'm going to get going here because I have this Zoom with Berkeley to honor the great Paul Jackson, and I'm really excited about that. Let me just check and see what I've got right here. I'll play us out on one song. So I'm going to say, have a fabulous day. I will see a bunch of you characters tomorrow on our one-on-ones. And again, shout outs to everybody out there working every day to try to keep this going. There's a lot of backsliding taking place. A lot of states are starting to re-spike. And I've got friends down in Brazil, and apparently Brazil is in unbelievably horrible condition. Only about 2% of their population's been inoculated. And they have this psychotic president who's just telling people to tough it out, quit complaining. And the amount of deaths they're going through is really incredible. So it's sad. So let's see what I've got. I got two things left here. And I'll do this one. This was a James Taylor song. And also it goes into a song that I think the Doobie Brothers did. And it's just a kind of a free-for-all. So let's have fun with that, and then I will fade us out and get going. We did this with James. Let it be. train to glory.
Just can't kill for Jesus. There's a well on the hill, gonna let it be.
Thank you, David.
I don't build no hidden temple, oh, oh, gonna lay this handbags on well on the hill, let it be.
Cooch.
Jesus is just alright with me. Jesus is just alright, oh yeah. Jesus is just alright with me. Jesus is just alright. Oh, I don't care what they may say. I don't care what they may do. I don't care what they may say. Jesus is just alright.
It's a party. Okie dokie, I'm out of here. You take good care. And I'm off to Berkeley webinar time. So talk to you later. Bye-bye.